Thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and ITY video. I'm joined today by Scott Hayes. He's the Senior VP of Product Marketing for Epicor. Welcome to the program.
Hey Alex, how you doing?
Good. Now, we're here at Epicor Insights 2018 in Nashville, but maybe we can just start about asking you to tell us a bit about yourself and your role at the company and how long you've been at Epicor.
Oh, well, that's actually kind of an interesting story. This is my second tour of duty at Epicor. So this time around, I've been here about 14 months. Last year, I came about 2 months before we did this event, Epicor Insights in Nashville. So now I'm 14 months in, but I had been with Epicor once before my career for 16 years. So if you add them up, I'm kind of 17, 18 years with Epicor.
And what was the gap in between?
And the gap was 4 years in between.
And there must have been quite a bit of a change in that time.
Oh, you know, that's fascinating too. You have like a nephew you only see once a year, and then you see it, and he's grown about 8 inches. Yeah. You go, wow, what happened? That's kind of what happened with Epicor. When I'd left, we had just finished the merger with Activent in 2012 timeframe, and when
in internet years, that was like the Jurassic.
Exactly right. And so I was gone after that. I was there for part of it, and left and came back, and they had gone from what was very siloed parts of the business, divisionalized by what came from Activent and what came from the Epicor side. And when I came back, it was now functionalized, and it was all feeling more like one company. There was a new level of energy, some new management was in place, and then even in the last several months, as you've probably heard here at the conference, Alex, many more of our C-level positions have been filled with new people that come with great pedigree in cloud enterprise software, and it is exciting. I'm like one step short of calling it the new Epicor, right? Because there's so much of our heritage that's important. I don't want people think that that's lost, but it truly is. And so some really exciting things were announced here, and that's part of my role at this event. Crazy stuff. It's my team puts together most of the content, right? And we run 600 breakout sessions. Right. There's about 80 of them running right now in parallel. We do that for several days straight.
And they have to deliver incredible value in this, compressed time frame.
They all do. So my team's been chasing up lots of experts over the last weeks to make sure that their presentations were ready to go and ready for our customer audience. I do that, and then, really, as a product marketer, it's how we tell the Epicor story, right? To me, a story that we tell that helps one of our potential customers decide if Epicor is right for them, right? Is how well it fits with what they need. Is it going to be easy, and is it going to help them grow? And so that's what we've been talking a lot about at this conference. But in the ways that we then dig down a level, as a product marketer, it's the way we tell our story. It has to be differentiating in some way. Because the buyer's in a really tough position. In a way, I think they're not necessarily selecting one. They're eliminating all the others.
and there's a lot of choice, and they want to make the right decision because it's an investment for the next.
It's huge. It's huge. Years. So that's why fit is so important. But my team helps the rest of the organization tell the story in a way that is, I call it the DC3 model. And there are people who are younger than me that have never heard of a DC3.
Yeah, I know it's the plane, right?
Yeah, it is, but it has nothing to do with that. It's actually the letters D and 3 C's. Yeah. Our story has to be differentiating, has to be clear, has to be compelling, and has to be customer-centric. And if it doesn't pass those 4 acid tests, then we probably haven't told it in the right way. So product marketing, storytelling, connecting with the audience on something that's important to them, that's what my team does.
Sure. Well, that's really interesting. So look, we've been here for a couple of days, and you've given us a bit of insight into the background. In fact, earlier today I did a 30-minute video with you looking at the experience zone, which I'm looking forward for people to watch. Yeah. But tell us what have been some of the highlights for you, both from seeing 3,500 people and some of the customers you must have bumped into, and reactions from even just other Epicor people.
Yeah, definitely. We announced some important things this week, and that's all out in the news now. But this new level of partnership with Microsoft Azure and Epicor is, to me, one of the most exciting things. As I said, I've been with Epicor a long time, and we have a history of delivering great on-prem solutions. And we've been in the cloud business now for quite a while as well. But we found it very important to be able to deliver the cloud to the mid-market and to our specific sectors and industries in a way that really made sense for them. And I know cloud is hyped, and people think that that is the only way to go right now. But mid-market distributors, mid-market manufacturers, mid-market retailers, if you really go deep and study the numbers, they aren't all ready to go cloud. Some of them are, some of them have, but some of them are just not ready yet. So this message that we have, that it's the same product from Epicor that runs on-prem or runs in the cloud, is resonating really well. Now, tag on to that now this new partnership with Azure. Where we used to say there was really a lot of parity between running your system on-prem and running it in the cloud. I know that economics change a little bit, and of course what IT does changes quite a bit. I believe what we're going to see in the next year with our deep partnership and our developers working side by side with Azure developers is that some of that parity is going to change. There's going to be some capabilities that we bring when we wrap up some of those Azure services for their image recognition, what they call the Vision API, for artificial intelligence, for machine learning, speech recognition, all those kinds of things. As we start to wrap functionality around that, I think we're going to start to see some things, honestly, in the next year that are available and affordable and packaged in the cloud that may not necessarily be available on-prem. But my third message there is just as important. We don't expect our customers to necessarily, just go to the cloud all in one fell swoop. I expect there will be some that never go all in. They're hybrid for a long time. I expect that there are some that will start going with certain functionality or certain locations, right? And we're happy to support that. So somebody who says, you know what, I do want to take advantage of that IoT thing on Azure, but I'm not ready to put my shop floor MES in the cloud. That's fine. So with Azure and their approach to hybrid, which is one of the reasons we standardize on them, our customer base and how well we know them, that they are going to want hybrid for a while, that's a really exciting message for me. And as you saw, Alex, on Tuesday morning, probably opened a few eyebrows pretty high when Satya Nadella from Microsoft came on screen and gave a welcome to the Epicor customers at this Insights event, which says to me how important this partnership is to Microsoft for Satya to do that.
Absolutely. Well, clearly. And so this is all part of how you're getting customers to the cloud. I mean, you have this project Cirrus you've been working on, which, tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so truth be told, Project Cirrus was sort of a code name inside the company, but I just liked it, and it was easier to talk about than the Epicor upgrade and migration program. There's a lot fewer syllables. So once I tie those together, and everybody on camera now can understand that Epicor upgrade and migration program, we just codenamed Cirrus.
Which is a type of cloud for that.
It is a type of cloud, yes. Cirrus, Stratus, those kinds of things. And the reason it was called that is because it's this process of getting to the cloud that could have been tough. There's a second process here, though, that is staying on the latest release. We've changed our cadence. We're delivering major releases every 6 months and minor releases in between. And our customers who are on cloud automatically get it, right? They're just always on the latest release. And the ones that are on-prem are typically, a release or two or more behind. And historically, it had been lots of time and effort and some risk to move from your ERP version that was working just the way you like it, with a few configuration changes, some customizations maybe, up to the next release. It, like I said, time, money, and some risk. And so what we did was we took those three things out. We wrote these bridges, we'll call them, from your current release or even another Epicor product. That's the migration part as opposed to the upgrade part. Same idea though. We take the data, where it is on-prem, we put an analyzer into your system and we show you from the cloud. It's kind of literally a cloud view of your on-prem thing that says, here's how you're using the system and here's the customizations you've created. They're all listed out, and here's where some of those customizations might go bump in the night when we upgrade or migrate. So that we call that the analyzer. And then with those in mind, now let's take the data up into the cloud because we're about to transform it. You know, think of it, it's kind of like the end of Beauty and the Beast, and the beast rises and he transforms into some beautiful prince. Well, that's literally what we do with the data. Take it up into the cloud and transform it up there. And what used to take, I'm telling you, what used to take 3 days to literally chug through all the data on premises to change it to the next release is done in hours up on this, you know, super high-end computers in the cloud. Then a customer can go see what their environment looks like in the cloud, off their servers. They can do their testing there, they can do their user training there, and they could decide, hey, wait a minute, we just migrated to the cloud, we could stay here, and we'll allow them to do that, right? Or they say, you know what, that's okay, glad you did it, but please drop it back down on our servers. So we gave their servers a few hours off, and then their servers wake up again, and you know, and their beautiful prints are on the latest release. And that's what Project Cirrus is, a bridge to the future that makes it less time, less effort, less risk to get there.
And when you've got people who are on a particular release version, and then they, you know, you've got these minor upgrades and major upgrades, how often are there sort of issues that people might say, oh, something's not working the way we expected, and how quickly can that be resolved? And I asked this because there was an ERP roundtable today, and you had a live customer there who sort of said, yeah, sometimes we find there's some sort of change and we work with Epicor and they fix it, but you know, you must have seen that happen too.
Yeah. I think it's not, for most customers, I'll be honest, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when you're going to find that that thing didn't quite get there, right?
I mean, just quickly, there's a reason why companies have had their standard operating environments, and that was sort of a pre-cloud era, where they want to stay on something for a while. But now in the modern era, you want the latest update, you want that improvement. You
do. And we really work hard to make our software so configurable. That's the C word that's good. Customize is the C word that's bad. We also use tailoring, but the idea is that it's very configurable. Even the layout of our screens is stored in a database, right? So we know certain fields reside at these positions, X, Y axis, and we can learn that if a customer used our tools to take something off the screen and put something new on the screen, we know in our database that there's a conflict there. It's not irreconcilable, but we want to tell them ahead of time there's a conflict rather than when they go live, then they apply that customization back on top and they say, whoa, something hit. And so it's a matter of when you're going to find that. Well, let's find that out even before the process starts. That's what the analyzer is, right? Right? Let's peer in and say, where are things going to potentially conflict? Let's get those resolved ahead of time, and then no problem.
So what's a great customer story that you wanted to share out of the many that you must have?
Well, there is a story I heard about just, you know, in the hallway. This has been a busy event. So I got to tell you, a lot of my conversations are in the hallway. And I met up with one of my team members who led a session, who hosted a session led by one of our customers, who presented on exactly this topic. And she moved from Epicor Enterprise, which is one of our heritage ERP products. She moved her company onto Epicor ERP, and she talked about how smooth the process was and what kinds of things to look out for. That's a really great thing that happens at these conferences. You get customers going, hey, come on in, the water's fine, just be careful with that step right there. And customers love that because you know, they hear from the pioneers out on the prairie. You know, step here, don't step there, and that was a high value session, I think.
And before we were filming, you were telling me about the Epicor Financial Planner. There was a story you wanted to tell me about.
Okay, so I was just down in the Solutions Pavilion where we were earlier, and one of my team members grabbed me, and they've been working on the latest release of Epicor Financial Planner, which I hadn't seen yet. And what they did, that used to be a full on-prem solution that has been uplifted to where it's really cloud-based. And they redid the entire UI, and the process that used to take to implement and get things set up to where you're now ready with your people, your workflows, and your general ledger, right, for the budgeting and planning process. You know how iterative that is? Hey, the boss says we got to take out another 2%. Everybody go back and redo your numbers, right? So there's that whole up, down of the financial planning process. It's very ad hoc sometimes, can be very workflow intensive, but the point is getting ready for all of that back and forth, change this, don't change that, keep that, I like this. They showed me how the setup to be ready to do that used to take about a week. It's done in 5 minutes, okay? Here's one of the real magical things I saw. And if you've ever done this financial planning process, you're gonna love this. He said, we use Excel as an input device if you need it. You got some files in Excel, lists of employees with their titles, who they report to, all that kind of stuff. Great, we'll go grab those and throw those into our database, really easy. But we also use Excel just as the UI, because everybody's used to it, right? The bad part of Excel is when you end up with data in these files all over the place. And they said, no, we're just using the UI, right? The data ends up back in the database, pure and simple. He said, but watch this. Pretend you're in a process where, exactly as I said, right? Everybody's got to cut another 1% out of their budget. And so you've got a budget with 100 line items and 12 months, and you've decided, I'm going to take it out of these 10 accounts over these 4 quarters. And he literally, just like in Excel, just grabbed the cells, those 10 accounts, these 4 quarters, and made changes, right? And then the approver gets the notification that these changes were made, and it comes up highlighted. Here are the cells in this that have changed. Everything else is the same, and you can count on that. Just need you to verify that this was the right stuff to cut out for our 1% improvement. And as somebody who's been involved in these processes for many years, and haven't typed up the emails, hey, I took account 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 7, and I changed it by $1,200, you know, I don't have to do that anymore. It's just visual with notes on the side. It's all in the cloud. It's a much faster process.
The magic of software, as they say.
That's right.
So look, I always like to finish with 3 questions. The first one is to ask, how you see the industry evolving over the next 10 years, given the incredible evolution we've had over the last 20, 30 or more.
Yeah. It's a funny one. We talk about Industry 4.0, and those were multi-generational shifts. I mean, those didn't happen just over 4 generations. It goes way back into the 20s, 1800s actually. And I sort of take some umbrage with this idea of digital transformation, because frankly, when I started my career in tech, we were transforming some processes from manual to digital. It just happened to be, in COBOL, thank you very much, and on green screens. But some things we used to have to do literally on, graph paper were now being done by the computer, and that was digitization in a very pure form. What I'm seeing now, I mean, here's where we are headed. It's the whole machine-human interface. And humans are still, perhaps with the exception of some supercomputers out there, humans in all businesses are still capable of processing thought and concept and making decisions with the nuances that are available to them much better than the computers. But the computers are much faster and much more accurate and much more reliable, and they can work 24/7 on certain tasks that take me away from doing the things that only humans can do. So I think what's really going to happen in the next 10 years are humans are going to be unshackled, freed up from the stuff that a computer can do for them, right? And then they only deal with the things that only the human can do. So this whole idea of how that interfaces, and we saw some really cool stuff this week, right? With a glove that was doing some scanning and putting some data back in, so that the drone was flying. We've seen some other kinds of things where machines are sort of taking care of themselves, or at least letting you know if they have something that needs to be actioned. As opposed
to humans going and checking all this manually, it's now automated.
Oh yeah, and then I was talking with our partner at Microsoft, and I mentioned just a little bit earlier about the Vision API. Literally, we'll be able to fly a drone or have positioned cameras that are looking at certain aspects of the quality line, or pipelines that are going throughout the plant, and watching for certain aberrations in quality or performance. If a leak comes up, for instance, it could have taken a while before some sensor detected that, oh yeah, we're flooding in this area, whereas a camera that's positioned on that new fitting, maybe for the first week of that fitting's life, could watch it 24/7, and with the image processing, know the difference between there's no leak and we sprung a leak, and kick off an alert, right? So that's, you'd hate to have a person have that job, right?
That's right.
But it was really hard for a computer to do that job because we didn't have the high image level processing and converting an image to structured data that we have now with things that are available to us in Microsoft Azure.
Let alone the cameras with enough resolution to be able to make a difference.
This interview.
Yeah. So my second and last question is always to ask if you could please share some great advice you've received in life to help you get where you are today.
Oh, wow. You know, I guess on questions like this, some people would go back to their parents, and mine encouraged me to try a lot of things. And you know, early on in life, they encouraged me to get involved in some activities in high school that were actually related to getting out in front of an audience. And I can tell you that's one thing that humans still do a lot better than computers.
Yeah.
And so early on, I got some experience standing up in front of a crowd and saying stuff. And I am very, very thankful that my parents encouraged me to do that. So their advice was, get out there and try it.
Great advice. So what's your final message to ITWire viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners? All
right, well, to ITWire, first of all, thanks. This is great what you're doing, bringing this whole event to life for your readers. To our potential customers and our current customers, if you weren't here at the event, I wish you could have been here. It really has been a fantastic opportunity for everyone to see what I said earlier, the new Epicor and what's coming out, what's available, and how we're embracing this and doubling down on our industries where we have had so much success in the past, where our customers have stories and stories and stories to tell about their success, because really it's all about your success in your business and your outcomes, that when you achieve those, then we'll benefit from it, right? And that's really my message, is that we want to celebrate success right after you do.
Scott, thank you very much for your time.
Great, thanks, Alex.